Hello, and welcome back, or welcome. Hi, I'm Annabelle. I made a video a couple days ago, and sorry, I'm like whispering because I don't know, the morning's still soft, so I feel soft. um, but yeah, I made a video on Sunday. It's now Thursday, about kind of how I was feeling post retrograde, and I went through like the beginning half of the week just running into a lot of people that were feeling what I think was something similar, but it seemed to be really struggling with the energy and like being in it. And I just wanted to share kind of how I feel now that I don't feel so constricted by it, just in case that can mirror something to people that you might be able to like glean. Because I feel like shifting out of energy is like immutable signs, like gift, I guess. It's also the curse because sometimes you just can't stay still. But you know, we all learn from each other. We learn how to stay still from fixed signs. We learn how to initiate from cardinal signs. No one is better than the other. It's just they're all here to represent different ways of being, and we're all supposed to learn from each other. And this is potentially, especially transitioning out of periods and like letting go, that can be immutable signs forte, I guess, like closing things out, transitioning, saying goodbye. Like, yeah, it can be kind of where our energy is in its role, I guess. Also, I realized maybe I should give like a little when I'm using words of astrology, because people might not all be clicked onto it. I'm hoping people are clicked on and they come here, but when I'm referencing a retrograde period, I'm referencing planets and like in the like hopefully understandable terms. In astrology, they usually move one direction. In retrograde, they move the other. And as people, if we observe them, we generally start to feel cues or see signs in our life that things are kind of ready to be on pause, and our energy is best well spent like internally and reflectively. You'll see like in retrogrades, if you go to start something or initiate something, things just might not feel right, or it'll land and then in 2 weeks it'll fall apart. Like whether you go with the energy or not, you kind of will see it. And so sometimes I believe that's why we are supposed to tap into the stars, is because we're supposed to tap into these cues to know how best our energy is going to be spent or directed, because we have very little control over our lives. And that's not necessarily saying that we have control, but it is that balance between surrendering control and therefore gaining a sense of control, or like gaining the sense of where your control begins and ends, and like boundaries around your energy and stuff. So that's what I'm saying when I'm saying retrograde, and we've just had a couple come out and go direct. And when I'm saying mutable, I'm referencing a particular mode that certain star signs or signs or energies, or just energies in general, energy in general moves quite a few ways. And astrology pinpoints 3 of them: fixed, cardinal, and mutable. And they all just represent different ways that energy operates. And I'm talking about mutable particularly because it's the one, fixed is one that's like very dense and very staying. Cardinal has like a big burst at the beginning and then it kind of tapers off, but it's in the initiator. And mutable is kind of just always moving and transitioning. And so it's the one that can help. If you think of it in the line of like cardinal starts, fixed will grab that energy and actually keep it going. Where the cardinal falls off, that's when the fixed will hold it. And then the fix is supposed to eventually let go and things are supposed to transform. And so the cycle goes and goes and goes. There's probably a bunch of other ways, but that's just what we talk about in astrology. So I kind of want to offer a bit of that because it seems to also be the advice that I am offering to my friends when they're in these times of turmoil, of having feelings inside of them that are telling them to do one thing and having a reality that tells them that it's not possible. And I might sound like I'm beating a dead horse when I say that, like, surrender is the easiest way through that. And I mean easiest, but I also mean wisest to a degree. Like, it's at least what I've learned so far in my life. I can be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong. If someone can tell me a better way through it, I'm open, because, like, I don't know, I'm open. But this feels right to me. The process of surrender will look different to everyone. It'll be more difficult. It'll be easier, depending on not just if you're immutable or a fixed sign, depending on a lot of things in your life. If you have things that you're more attached to, if you're not really so familiar with the idea of surrender or attachment, like if you've got, like dependence, if you have liabilities or dependence or things in your life outside of yourself that require stability from you, like there is a lot of factors that make this process varied to a wide degree for every single person on this earth. And I am a single person. I have attachments in my life. I have things that I don't want to let go of. I have a life that I don't want to let go of. Like, I have certain things, but I'm certainly amongst the crowd that's, that this comes easy for. So I'm also not, I don't want to bypass that, I guess. But I believe we can learn from everyone in different ways, and we can apply the lessons differently. You can take a lesson and apply it to yourself if you have enough self-introspection, kind of thing. I don't know, I feel like I just need to give that disclaimer, because sometimes I feel like I want to share things, but I'm aware of my circumstances and aware that people are different, and that me just saying something could feel a bit insensitive to people who may not be coming from the same place, or it might not be as easy for. So just giving that caveat, it is completely normal for this to be the way, like that everything is so different for everyone. But yeah, I also think learning is worth sharing. But yeah, I think the best thing to turn to in these times is surrender. Like, look at what you're feeling. I certainly did. I looked at what I was feeling, which was like all of this inspiration and this willingness to act and like know where to put it. And I felt frustrated, and I felt limited, and I felt kind of like, not persecuted, but a little bit like, why am I feeling this way? If I can't do anything, why am I feeling this way? And so, like, first thing is to do is like take stock of how you're actually feeling and try to remove like narratives from it. Like, you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling stuck. Pay attention to the narratives if you feel like it's important, but be aware of yourself. Ground yourself in like your reality of what you're facing at the moment, so you know what it is. Again, like, you can't really let go of anything until you have a grip on it. That's something that I always remind myself of. So you need to get a grip on yourself. You need to figure out like how you're feeling with this. And the next step is to process it. And that's going to look different for everyone. Some people are verbal processes. Some people need to write. Some people need to move. You need to do what you need to do. I journal this shit all the time. Like, sometimes I'm better, sometimes I'm worse. But I'm pretty good when I'm feeling a way that feels stuck. And when I say journal, I don't necessarily mean... I mean, you can answer the question, like, what am I feeling? Or like, I'm feeling stuck, what do I do? Like, that might actually be really insightful for people who work in that way. But generally, if you're feeling stuck or frustrated or at a standstill, asking yourself more questions can kind of exacerbate the problem sometimes, because you won't really feel like you have answers, or you'll feel like you'll have answers that don't necessarily feel good enough to be the solution. And that can sometimes just kind of put yourself into more of a hole. So I stream of consciousness. That's how I've always journaled. And it's, for me, the most helpful. I'm going to say for me, because I know that people journal, you can journal any way you want. You can journal with pictures, you can journal from a quote that you're inspired by, from a poem, you can journal from inspiration and like as a response to things. You can journal from questions, you can journal because of a certain date, you can journal because of transits, like you can journal because of a lot. I'm just saying that stream of consciousness is usually the best thing for me, just so I can kind of see where I'm at and I can hear what my voice sounds like, I can hear what my thoughts are sounding like it's a really good mirror to see the kind of dialogue you're having, not just about yourself, but to yourself, with yourself. I'd really recommend that. A next thing that I would that's like kind of moved me on from that is like talking to people and seeing where the world's at and seeing where your community's at and like leveling with what people are going through and relating to them. That's also a part of processing, I feel like once you process with yourself, like especially if it's like a communal or universal energy, giving like credence to that and actually interacting with that. Like if it is a transit, if it is something that, or like even just taking a chance to see that. Like if you're in a shitty mood, fair enough, you're in a shitty mood and maybe you don't want to take up space, but maybe the likelihood of you like just observing the people around you and seeing their moods and seeing like, oh, everyone's a little bit ticked off, everybody's a little bit frustrated, I'm also feeling that. Like sometimes it can kind of ease the burden of it feeling like a you problem. And when things feel like a you problem, they feel much more, or I think I personally am much more likely to get defensive about it and much more likely to get stuck about it, because then I take it on as like my responsibility to fix my life. And that's hard. And that's heavy and that's a big task. But if you can see it as this wave that everyone's kind of riding together, it's not a particularly like you don't have to take this as a personal reflection on how you're doing in your life and where you're at and like this hallmark for your success or your, I was gonna say morality, but that's not really it, but like, you know, like hallmarks of success or like where you are in your path or awareness of what you're ready for or what's coming next, or you know, like it doesn't have to be a signpost. It can just be something that we're all in together, and that can ease the weight off your shoulders a bit. At least it does for me. And that's definitely, I think, going to work on Monday immediately brought that relief, because I had the chat with myself on Sunday that I posted. And then I went and saw a friend on Sunday night. I like journaled about it. The other thing I also do is pull tarot cards, but not everyone's into that, and that's okay because they're kind of overwhelming. Especially if you're just starting. If you haven't started and then you're gonna take like a point where you're really not grounded and like a little bit disconnected from yourself and like your self-awareness to like as the time to take up tarot or any kind of divination, I'd put a set of brakes. I'd put a set of brakes on that. Like I would. I wouldn't start it when you're in a place of turmoil. I'd start it when you're more like in your own like resonance. Is that cockroach coming back to life? It was like completely squished, and that thing's been dead there for days. And now its antenna's moving and its legs are moving. Oh, honey. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if you're really dying really slowly or if you're sleeping. Oh. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm sorry. I don't know, like, let nature take its course kind of thing. I'm sorry, babe. I hope you're okay. Animals are usually okay. When they're dying, they face death very, for the most part, gracefully. You know, there's exceptions, but yeah, Sunday I went and saw a friend. Sorry, connecting back to the world. Like, if you're going through something, connect into yourself, yes, but then also don't spiral in, connect back out. talk to a friend. You don't necessarily have to talk to a friend about what you're going through if you're not ready, if you don't feel comfortable. Maybe if you go inside, you need the friend just to like reconnect you back to life, and you just need to go for a walk, or you just need to, what are people playing in America? Pickleball. Like maybe you just need to go do something like that. Play cards, play a board game, go out, get dinner, like talk about something else. Maybe you need that. I had a bit of that. Like I had a bit of this friend that I saw, we have a bit of a tendency to talk about like cosmic universal shit. So that was cathartic for me, but we also had like a bunch of just fun conversation, you know? Bring levity and light into the situation. It doesn't necessarily mean you're running away from your emotions, especially if you've addressed them. It would be different if you've kind of noticed how you're feeling, not addressed it in the slightest, and then gone and hung out with a friend and been distracted, but that the constant wave of going in and then coming out and going in and coming out is what sets motion, if you can see it in that way. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's one way that I think it's not necessarily control, and it doesn't work if you're like, you have to allow yourself to like fully be in it, not like trying to direct it. I guess that's the thing with like trying to work with your feminine. You have to allow yourself to be the whole thing. You have to fall into it. You have to surrender and go, like, there is a direction of like, okay, I'm gonna do this. But while you're journaling, per se, what is this? For example, while you're journaling, try to avoid journaling by being like, I'm taking myself internal so I can get to the internal space, so I can start this wave, you know? Or like when you go see a friend, being like, I'm taking myself external so I can be in control of the motion that I'm in. Like, that's when you're in your mind. You're not actually in the process of creating the wave of your energy. So taking yourself internal, taking yourself external to a friend, and then going to the collective. Whether that's even just going to a coffee shop and like paying attention to the mood the barista's in, sitting in the coffee shop and paying attention to the mood of the people in the room. Pay attention. Pay attention to how people are driving on the road. Pay attention to how people are at your workplace, like on the street, like in a park, like just observing. Because then you kind of bring yourself into this, you've gone in, you've gone out, and you kind of can bring yourself into this observer awareness. And then you can go in again, and you can go, okay, now that I've seen all of this, how am I actually feeling? What am I actually making from this process, this wave? And it's highly likely that you'll have a clearer answer, and it's highly likely that you'll feel a little less restricted and a little bit more free to be yourself, and also free to support others and like confirm this for other people, and not necessarily like have to like tell them like do this, but just see where they're at because you were just there, and help be that friend, be the friend to find levity, be that partner on that journey, be a part of it and connect. This is way easier said than done, I understand. And it takes time, it takes days, and it'll be different for everyone. And sometimes the internal bit, you just need to sit with yourself longer than, like, you know, for me it took a day. Sometimes for me it takes 3. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. This process stretched out looks different all the time. But the general pattern, when I remember it, I'm always really grateful for. So that is my gift for today. So I hope it makes sense. The little cockroach stretched all of its limbs again. It like just stretched all of its legs and was like, I think maybe it's okay. Maybe it's just healing itself. Hi. Hi, little one. I hope you're okay. I don't really know, what do cockroaches eat? They don't really eat anything, do they? Do they eat leaves? Maybe. They eat kind of anything, don't they? Oh, oh. I'm sorry, little bud. Okay, that's all I'm doing. I'm just putting a leaf near it just in case it eats leaves. There's not really a lot of matter here. Anyway, yeah, that's my gift. I hope you can take something of it. And if it sounds like complete bullshit, that's okay. That's also so fine. And if you've got a better process, share it. I'd love to know. I'd love to try it out. Because, yeah, that's what we're all here for, is like sharing our little nuggets of light. Yeah. Anyway.